What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? BizzyDad here. You there checking out my official entry into the Scribble Sketch Deck Challenge. So, this is a really fun collaboration with another really great YouTuber, Scribble Sketch, and I'm going to put a link to her channel below, and I'm also going to put a link to her video with her deck submission below as well in the description. So definitely check both of those out. Now, for those of you who did not see my announcement video, Scribble Sketch laid down the gauntlet. She put the word out there to all other Force of Will YouTube channels for a deck challenge, and I was more than happy to accept because I think it's fun, and she chose me to be the first one. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Scribble Sketch. You never forget your first. So really the idea behind this challenge is she picks a ruler, we both build a deck around it, she also picks the format, and then we both post our deck, we give our reasoning for it, and then it goes to the people. They comment, vote, I guess, just really just a discussion and just to keep the community going. So to all my subs, I say to you, go subscribe to Scribble Sketch. She is really fun. She covers a lot of things, not just Force of Will, but she is really good with Force of Will, with her decks and her unboxings and everything like that. So definitely check out her channel and subscribe, and check out her deck submission. This way, we get subs all over the place and we just get this community growing. So for the first ever challenge, she chose the Glorius / Faria ruler in the new Legacy Lost set, and she chose New Frontier format. So no Grim cards are going to be in here, and that's fine with me. Ironically, I do not own the Glorious ruler, so we see a screenshot on my phone. That's no problem. We could definitely work around that. But I think we have a fun green / white deck to put into the challenge with some twists and fun cards. You know me, you know my channel, you know how I build my decks. So we definitely have that coming. So this is the profile for the deck I call Inheritance Tax. You know I name my decks. This is going to be no different. Have to name this one as well since this is an official challenge that's been laid down. Really the idea behind this deck is to introduce the new Inheritance ability, which Glorious runs and makes it a theme in the deck. And anybody that lives in the USA, like I do, when somebody passes away and leaves an inheritance, somebody gets some money or property or stocks or anything like that, there is a pretty heavy tax that is put on the inheritance, and we're going to carry that theme into here too, because we are going to hit you with inheritance and you are gonna pay. So let's get into it. The ruler is Glorious, the Masked Crusader, a human ruler with the judgment of 1 light, 1 green, and 1 of other. And there is the Energize, which lets you produce either light or green at any time if you go second. Now, I really like this, and I really don't like this. I mean, I understand why they're doing it because it's a white and green ruler. So if you do have the Energize, you have that ability to produce either white or green. But in the previous set, Frozen Casket, where they introduced this Energize, those rulers only energize for 1 color. Now we have a brand new batch of rulers that energize for 2, which kind of gives them immediate advantage. If you go second, you almost always have a turn 1 play. Because let's take Glorious here. If you have a green 1-drop that you want to play, but you pull a white stone, it doesn't matter because your Energize could produce green. So in a pinch, you can make that turn 1 play no matter what. I mean, it definitely is a good thing, and it makes the game a little more wide open, but the fact that the other rulers only energize for 1 or don't energize at all, it just seems like they're just getting further and further behind the curve. Maybe that gets changed, but that's a story for another day. The ability is really strong here. If we discard a card with Inheritance, we get to draw a card. Play this ability only during your turn and only once per turn. So we'll get into Inheritance cards and their ability once we get into the deck. Basically, it says only on your turn and only once per turn. If you play an Inheritance card, you get to draw a card. Don't get this confused. It's not saying that you can't play Inheritance cards on your opponent's turn. You can. You can play Inheritance whenever because it technically is an activate ability. However, it's saying that you draw a card only once per turn on your turn when you do Inheritance. So just don't get that confused. I like that because it is a replacement effect. When you use Inheritance, you have to pay stones and discard a card from your hand in order to use Inheritance. So I like the fact that on your turn, when you do it, you get to draw a card and replace that card in your hand. I always say discard is death. I truly believe that in this game. So you really don't want to be in a spot where you're just discarding cards out of your hand and not replacing them. You're going to find yourself with no cards and pretty much no chance if you don't have any cards in your hand. So let's pay the judgment. 1 green, 1 light, and 1 of other. Flips over to Faria, the ruler of divine beasts, a 1,000 human/divine beast J ruler. And when this card enters your field, put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your field. And that is really good. A lot of rulers don't let you do this. When you do judgment, you can't call a stone on the same turn. Here's one of the few rulers that will let you get a stone when you do judgment. So that is really good too. Each turn, you may play your first inheritance ability without paying its cost. You still discard that card. So now here we're seeing the ability goes for your turn and on your opponent's turn. Each time you play your first inheritance card, it's free. It says you may do it, or why would you not? But basically, it's a free inheritance for the first card on your turn and your opponent's turn. That is really strong. You no longer get to draw anymore, so you really want to tailor your strategy to the higher cost inheritance cards when they're free. And you'll see that in the deck. There is also a God's Art here, Pricia Spirit Wind for 0. This card gains barrier until end of turn. Play the God's Art only once per game. So basically a throwback to the 7 Kings rulers because it's Faria with the God's Arts. And for free, basically no cost, at any time you can protect and give your J ruler barrier until the end of the turn. Now, keep in mind, this will not stop Black Moonbeam because Black Moonbeam can't be chased. So unless you were somehow knew that your opponent was going to play Black Moonbeam that turn and you played the God's Art before and gave her barrier until the end of turn, that's great. But your opponent will just smack you on the next turn. But that's the only way to stop Black Moonbeam. You can't chase Black Moonbeam at all, so you can't use the God's Art to defend it. It's not a bad ruler and J ruler. Inheritance is interesting. I think there are some cases where it's pretty strong, and we'll see that in this deck, but you'd really have to see what other cards come in the future for it if there's any more support. There is inheritance for different colors, not just green and white, which I like to see. But for now, we are just running white and green, and we're going to focus on that. So let's clear the phone out of the way because I don't have the card, and let's get into the cards of the main deck. All right, guys, so like we said, it is a green-white deck. We're going to go into our stone base first, and right off the bat, we have 4 copies of Magic Stone of Gusting Skies. Of course, it's a white-green deck, so we want as much white-green access as possible. We're also going to run 4 copies of Pricia's Memoria. I only have 2, but for the sake of the deck, we'll just pretend we have 4. This is another dual stone for white and green. If your ruler is not Glorius or Faria, this is going to come in rested unless you pay 300 life. But, we're using it with Glorius and Faria, so it's no big deal. You can rest it, produce white and green, and also you can rest it. And as long as your J ruler is Faria, it gains +2/+2 until the end of the turn. So a good way after you draw before recovery, if you have any of these up and Faria is turned over, you can rest it to pump her to +2/+2 for the turn, or even on your opponent's turn too if you needed to pump her up with energy whistle. That's not bad. And we will end it with just 1 green stone and 1 white stone. So I think this is pretty much the same stone base that Scribble Sketch had, but really this would be the base that makes the most sense. So let's go into Resonators, and right off the bat, it is 4 copies of Tama, Familiar of Holy Wind. It's Tama time, a 1-drop Familiar or Cat Resonator, 1 green, and when this card enters your field, draw a card. Draw a power. We definitely want to keep drawing the cards. We have the Inheritance ability that helps us draw, and now Tama is going to help us draw. It's good to keep cards in your hand. Also, you could banish this card, and it deals 200 damage to a target Resonator. So not bad in a pinch if she's going to get killed or blasted out of there. You could send her out on your terms and then hit somebody for 200 on the way out. We have 4 copies of Sacred Beast of Wind, and here is our first look at Inheritance. So it is another 1-drop. It's a Beast Resonator, 300 attack and defense with flying. But it has the Inheritance. So the Inheritance cost is green and discarding this card. Target J Resonator gains +3/+3 and flying until the end of turn. This actually is one of the most worthwhile inheritance cards in the set because of its low cost. So if you have this card in your hand, you will pay 1 green and discard it, put it in the graveyard, and a Resonator on your field, J Resonator, so this could hit your J ruler, will gain +3/+3 and flying until the end of the turn. I think it's really good, and I like the fact that there is no designated target. It could be any J Resonator. So I really do like that. And we run 4 copies of this because we definitely want to be able to use this at any time. It's even pretty good defensively to give somebody flying that can maybe jump up and block one of your opponent's flyers. How about 4 copies of Divine Beast of Attoractia, a 2-drop, 1 green, 1 white. This is a Divine Beast Resonator, 600 attack and defense. And whenever you play an inheritance ability, this card gains +2/+2, and whenever this card deals damage, you gain that much life until the end of turn. I really like this card, and we definitely want to keep this card on the field when we're using our inheritance. It's a great combo with the Sacred Beast of Wind, and let's go into it. If we have our Divine Beast on the field, and it's our turn, we pay the 1 green, and we will discard the Sacred Beast of Wind to give the Divine Beast +3/+3 and flying. So now it's a 900/900 flyer. But since we played an inheritance, it's going to gain another +2/+2, makes it 11/11. And whenever it deals damage, you're going to gain that much life. So that is really strong because with the beast on the field for 1 green and discarding it, this now becomes 11/11 with flying, and we can attack and get 1100 life. And if Glorius is on the ruler side, we get to draw a card. That is a lot of value for 1 green and discarding a card. You're going to replace it with the draw effect. You're going to pump the Divine Beast to 11, make it fly, so it could probably get over our opponent's Resonators. And we're going to gain 1100 life. Really, really, really strong play. That works really well together. One of the few really strong inheritance combos. And now I want to introduce the main primary winning condition of the deck, and it is 4 copies of Pricia, Beast Queen in Hiding. A little bit of homage to Scribble Sketch here because I know she is a big fan of the Force of Will story. I was able to finally brush up on the full story myself, and I know the connection with the 7 Kings. So here is Pricia, a 3-drop human/beast Resonator, so it's 2 green and 1 other to play. And when this card enters your field, you may put an evolution counter on a target Resonator with no evolution counters on it. Just to let you know right now, we have no other Resonators with evolution counters, but this works really well with other beasts such as Kajuda, the Ox, does really good, but we don't have that here. Here's one of our key conditions. If a spell or ability would increase this card's attack or defense, it increases it by double that much instead. Keep that in mind as we go through the rest of the cards, and we'll revisit this card to show you how quickly it can become just a huge hitter, huge beast, and game ender. Also, for 1 green, you could choose any number of attributes, and this card becomes those attributes until the end of the turn. That is for inheritance. That is for incarnating. That is for other things as well. I have a deck with the Attoractia Globe that I use her to win with too. So she is a really good card. And like I said, keep her in mind. We're going to come back to her. Finally, for the Resonators, I have 2 copies of the Sacred Komainu. I'm probably saying it wrong. I know the pronounced police are out there and they will correct me. I do it all the time. So this is a 5-drop Divine Beast Resonator, really steep. And whenever you do Judgment, return this card to its owner's hand. So kind of interesting right there, but we're not interested in using it like that. It's inheritance for the same cost, for the same 1 light, 1 green, and 3 of other. Target J Resonator you control gains +1000/+1000 until end of turn. You pay the 5, and you discard this card in order to play the ability. But we're not interested in paying for that. This is part of our winning condition. If we can get the Beast Queen on the field, and we get Faria, our ruler, to the J ruler side where we can play inheritance for free, this becomes our free inheritance. We're going to pump Pricia up +1000/+1000 until the end of the turn. But don't forget, if any spell or ability increases, it increases by double that much instead, which means Sacred Komainu, we're going to play the inheritance for free on the J ruler side, and now she becomes 27/27 for the turn. Just really huge. And that is just the beginning. We have ways to make her even more dangerous, more powerful, as you'll see. So, I mean, that is it for the Resonators. Let's get into spells and abilities. And it is 4 copies of the Flying Cloud. Great utility card right here. A 1-drop, 1 green addition. And as long as this card is not bestowed to a card, as long as this card is not bestowed to a card and your J ruler is wind, it gains +2/+2 and flying. So since Faria is wind and light, this will help her out. She will gain +2/+2 and flying just with this card on the field. And they also stack. So if you have 2 on the field, Faria is going to gain +4/+4 and flying. But again, we are out here to hopefully get this on Pricia, because now she will get double the pump and become 11/11 and flying. And boy, is it getting worse and worse. 11/11. If we can play the inheritance for free, she now becomes 31/3100 and flying. If they can't stop the flying, turn out the lights, the party's over. That's going to be game. Pricia is tremendous when you pump her up with all her additional cards. Also, 3 copies of Protection of Seraph. I do like this card. If you're running light, these are one of the cards you should always have, either main deck or side deck. A 1 light addition. Added Resonator cannot be attacked or targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls. Again, something to keep Pricia alive. She can't be targeted. They can't come after her with this card out here, and then you can just keep pumping her up for double the energy, flying, 2,000 and 3,000, and just swing for the game. Another really good card. 4 copies of Faria Summon, a 2-drop quick cast, 1 green, 1 light. You can do this at any time. Search your deck for a Resonator, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your main deck. There is also a Torrent ability. If it happens to be the second card that you played for the turn, you can recover up to 1 target Magic Stone. This is a really good card because it's quick cast. That's what makes it so strong. And if you have the stones up at the end of your opponent's turn, you could play this and go search out the card you're looking for. Go search out Pricia if you need it. Or if everybody's on the field and you're ready to end the game, go get the Komainu. It's one of the reasons why we only run 2 copies, because this card will help us search it out. Go get that card and then play the inheritance for free, and then just hopefully send Pricia for the win. Really good combination. 4 copies of Zero's Magic Light, a really great defensive card. Another quick cast chant. You can do this at any time. 2 light to play. If your ruler is 0, it's only 1, which makes it even more of a sick card. But it's 2 in this case. Remove target attacking or blocking Resonator from the game. So we like to sit on this card, and if our opponent pumps up a big Wyber or anything big and coming after us, boom, we just play this and remove it from the game. If we have our Pricia all bumped up to 2,000, 3,000, we want to swing for the game, and our opponent has a flyer and says, all right, I'm going to try to block. No, we're going to play this. We're going to remove the blocker from the game. The damage gets through, and that might be all she wrote. It's a really, really strong card to have with quick cast, which makes it unbelievable. It could happen at any time, and then they're gone. The staple for green-white, this card's made for green-white. Seal of Wind and Light, another quick cast. The instant, but you can do this at any time. 1 green, 1 white, and cancel target spell. Any spell. You can cancel summons. You could cancel anything that comes on the board. Can't cancel activate abilities, but any sort of spell could be canceled by this. If you play Moon, like Scribble did in her video, you can also play a Moon where it can't be chased. So pretty slick move. I like how she worked the Moon Will abilities into her deck as well. Finally, in the main deck, you know I like creative cards, you know I like fun cards, and this is probably a card no one expected coming. I'm pretty sure if you did see this coming, that's amazing. But it is 3 copies of Elshin Flower. It's a Vingolf 2, and I'm determined whenever I can to try to grab some of these Vingolf 2 fun cards and throw them in the deck just to see if they can work. And this one can work. So it's a 2-drop chant. You can only do this on your turn, 2 light to play, and you choose one. You either recover a target Resonator or rest a target Resonator. And the way that this deck is set up to have really big hitters on the field, this card really does come in handy, because we could recover one of our own Resonators for a double attack, or we can rest one of our opponent's Resonators before we attack. If we know they could block, we could just get them out of the way. So a couple of really good examples here is our Divine Beast. If we have it on the field and we play our Inheritance Bird, so it now becomes 11/11 and flying. And whenever it swings and attacks, I'll put it this way, every time it does damage, we gain that much life. So if we pumped it up to 1,100 and we swing 11-11 flying, and our opponent can't block it. So they take 1100 and we gain 1100 life. Well, if we have 2 stones, let's play the Elshin Flower and let's recover our Divine Beast and let's swing again. Another 1100 to our opponent and another 1100 life to us. That is really, really cool. Our Pricia, if our Pricia is all pumped up, we got her ready to go, but our opponent has a flyer and we don't want that. So why don't we play the Elshin Flower and say, hey, take that flyer. You got that Gwyber out there? Why don't you get that, rest that Gwyber right there? And now we have anybody that flies can just come in for the main damage. Or if we somehow have to let Pricia swing twice, which would be crazy, we could do that too. Elshin Flower, really good card. When appropriate. Those Vingolf 2 cards, I mean, they're really tough to fit into decks, but I always try to, and I think this works out pretty good here. It's always good to put in a fun card. So that is the main deck, and I'm glad that Scribble Sketch put up a sideboard, because I always try to make a sideboard. I always try to build a deck so it's going into a best out of 3 matchup. So my sideboard is always situational, and really just depends on who you're playing and what they have. So we have 3 copies of Gale Force. This is almost a must-have sideboard card. If you're running green at all, a 1-drop quick cast chain, you can do this at any time. 1 green, destroy target Resonator with flying, which is crazy because there's a lot of people who play the Flame Dragons and the Gwybers and anybody there's a lot of flyers out there. Flying is key because they're tough to block, but here's one way to just get rid of them, just destroy them. Zero's Magic Light removes them from the game, so sometimes that's a little better, but this one here will destroy it even before they attack, so I understand the difference. And very good to have, especially if you go up against a heavy flyer deck. How about 3 copies of Heavenly Gust? I like this card too. It is a quick cast, 2-drop. You could destroy a target edition or regalia, but if it's the second card, that Torrent, you're going to destroy all editions and regalia your opponent controls. So you go up against those heavy regalia 0 decks or those Valentina decks that are still around here and there. And you can just get rid of everybody, all editions, all regalia, as long as it's the second card. So really good to have. So here's my little homage to you, Scribble Sketch, and in the story too. We do have Pricia in the deck, and like I said, I was able to brush up on the story, and I know that Pricia's tag team partner in the story was Maribel. So we're going to have 3 copies of Small Assistant Maria Bella here. This is to throw a curveball at our opponent. When they're looking for Pricia, Beast Queen in hiding in that game too, they're trying to find a way to deal with her. All of a sudden, Maria Bella comes in the deck. So it is a 2-drop machine/human resonator, 500 attack and defense. And when this card is put into a graveyard from your field, you may search your deck for a card named Maribel the Steel Doll or Maribel Insane Self-Aware Machine, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And if you remove Maria Bella in your graveyard from the game, you get to produce 2 will, and you spend that to play activate abilities of Maribel the Steel Doll, which is the regalia, or to play Maribel the Insane Self-Aware Machine. So really good replacement effect in a way. When she dies, you get to go find a Maribel, either Resonator or regalia, and then you remove her from the game, and you produce 2 will to play either the activate ability of the regalia or to play the Resonator. So pretty strong. And you know, if we have her, we're going to have our big girl, Maribel, the Insane Self-Aware Machine. There's 3 copies of it, a 5-drop machine resonator with Pierce. This is what makes her strong. And this is, maybe you could catch your opponent off guard here. 1200 attack and defense. But like I said, we can make it 3 if we get Maria Bella in the graveyard and remove her from the game. Maribel could come out for 3. And with a really good ability, pay 1 and rest another recovered resonator you control, and this card gains +X+Y until end of turn, where X is the attack and Y is the defense. Excuse me. And it also gains all the symbol skills. So if you could rest a flyer, this becomes a flying 2. If you could pump up rest the Pricia, it's going to gain the attack and defense. If you rest the Divine Beast and pay 1, it gains the attack and defense. And it's not bad to do that because Maribel has Pierce. So even if your opponent can block, the more you pump Maribel up, the more eventual damage is going to get through to your opponent. So like I said, these are just kind of twist and curveball cards that are in here that you can change on the fly when you think your opponent is changing to get your strategy. Finally, is 3 copies of Zero's Familiar, and I laughed when I saw that Scribble Sketch had this same idea too. a 2-drop Beast Resonator, 500 attack and defense with flying. It's always good to have a flyer, but the fact that it gives you a J Ruler barrier. Again, if you're going up against somebody who plays Black Moonbeam, this is a decent card to have in the sideboard because it flies, of course, and then you get it on the field, and when you flip Faria over, they can't be targeted by Black Moonbeam. A good combination with protection of Seraph, if you can get this on the bird. The bird can't be targeted either. It can't be attacked, so the longer the bird stays on the field, the longer Faria stays protected. You could also put in Gwyber too, instead of the bird, a 12/12 flyer worth 5, but don't forget, with our 1-drops like Tama and the Divine Beast and the Sacred Beast of Wind, we can get Gwyber in cheaper as well. So that could definitely happen. It really just depends how you want to build the deck. Either way is fine. So guys, that is it. That is my deck. Oops, excuse me, I kicked the table. That is my deck for Inheritance Tax, my Glorious / Faria, my entry into Scribble Sketch's Deck Challenge. Let me know what you think with a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and go check out Scribble Sketch. Check out her channel, check out her video, subscribe to her, leave some comments on her deck as well, and we'll see how this goes. If this is successful, then we'll have plenty more deck challenges in the future. But again, I want to thank Scribble Sketch for letting me be the first to take her on in the challenge, and I wish her and you and everyone else great holidays, Happy New Year's. So guys, that is it. Thanks for a few minutes, and I'll talk to you soon.